Hi, good morning, students. How are you? 2 days you got relaxation. Your head, eyes, everything got relaxed. Is it? Now you are ready to study online. Okay, so we'll go to our topics. Okay, have a nice week ahead. We will have the first thermodynamics. So the what are the topics we covered last class is Joule-Thomson coefficient, inversion temperature, Kirchhoff's equation, spontaneous and non-spontaneous process, limitations of first law of thermodynamics. Now what are the topics we are going to see today is second law of thermodynamics, closure statement, Kelvin-Planck statement, entropy statement, entropy, Clausius inequality theorem, entropy change for an ideal gas, entropy of mixing of ideal gases. First, before going into second law, we'll just have a look at the limitations of first law. What were the limitations of first law? Any Vigneshwari say? Yeah, it does not say anything about the direction of flow of heat. Second one, Kavya, it does not say anything whether the process is spontaneous process or not. Okay, very good. Then the reverse process is not possible. That is, first law was not able to tell which direction heat flows, whether it occurs by its own, and whether the reaction can be reversed. Or in simple way, what we can say that certain processes occur in nature even though they are certain processes will not occur in nature even though they are not violation of first law. Okay, for example, if you take a cup of coffee, keep it in a room, from the room temperature we are not able to make it more hotter. Or if that was possible means we can ride a ship, from the heat energy obtained the water present in the sea itself. Okay, so there are certain processes which will not occur even though they are not violation of first law. That was the need for the second law. So that has been overcome by the proposal of second law, and these second law were able to explain why this process happens. And the second law, as I told earlier, thermodynamics laws are not a derived law. It is from experience scientists has developed. So second law has been developed or has been proposed by different scientists, and they in different places, and therefore they have put their own statements. That doesn't mean that the first statement and second statement are purely independent. If a process obeys the first closure statement, then surely it will be obeying Kelvin-Planck statement. If it doesn't obey means it will not obey Kelvin. Both are comprehensive only, but it has been put forward in different ways. So because of that, there are a different statement for second law. One is closure statement, one is Kelvin-Planck statement, and one is entropy statement. We are going to see these statements. Okay. Now, closure statement, what it states is, it is impossible to construct a heat engine which will convert heat from cold reservoir to a hot reservoir without the aid of an external agency. Okay, you forget all that statement. You remember this alone. ഒരു ഹീറ്റ് എൻജിൻ ഹീറ്റ് കോൾഡ് റീജിയനിൽ നിന്ന് എടുത്ത് hot regionലോട്ട് പോണ മാതിരി we can't construct. It is impossible to construct a heat engine which converts heat from cold to hot. Okay, ഒരു external agencyയുടെ help ഇല്ലാണ്ട് we are not able to do that. Then what is a heat engine? It's only a device that converts heat energy into mechanical work. For example, car's engine is a heat engine where we will give fuel. That fuel will burn up and it produces the heat that will make the car to run forward. So during that process, we have to heat up. It will not take heat from its surrounding and it will work by its own. So that is only, you can see the second picture, a engine will take heat from the hot reservoir or hot source, and work is done, and once the work is finished, the remaining will go to the cold zinc. From hot to cold to hot, it is not possible. Then explanation for this is, naturally the energy will be from high region to low region only. Example, take a cup of coffee. A cup of hot coffee does not become hot in a cool room. We have to heat it further, then only it will become hot. That means from hot region only it will be, high temperature region only it will be going to lower temperature region. Now take the case of pressure also, air. In a consider a blown balloon, you are going to put a hole in it. What happens? Suddenly the balloon shrinks. Why? The air from inside will come out. It will never, air from the outside region goes into the balloon. That is, inside high pressure, outside low pressure. So second law tells us about the direction of the reaction or direction of flow of heat. Then Kelvin and Planck has put it in or explained it in different way. What they have observed is, they have observed how much work is produced. So what they says is, it is impossible to construct an engine which convert heat completely into work by a cyclic process without producing changes either in the system or surrounding. That is also, don't get panic about the statement and all. You just remember this alone. When we supply heat to somebody, the full amount of heat will never be converted to work. Some will be wasted. This amount of the heat taken will be utilized. Part of the heat is used to do the work, and remaining goes to the sink. Okay. There also explanation, if you take every natural process, there will be some losses. Nothing is perfect. For example, again, if you take a ball, simple example, you're putting it down, what happened? It bounces. How it bounces? First it goes to the maximum height. As the time goes, the height of the bouncing will be decreasing. Then car, if you take the case of car, again I told it has a heat engine where we are supplying the heat. How we will be supplying the fuel, it get ignited and heat energy will be given to it. That heat energy will not be completely used for the movement of the car. How? What is the proof? You can see some gas coming out, exhaust. So that means that some of the heat energy supplied is wasted in the form of smoke. Okay. So second law help us to determine the degree of degradation of energy in a process. First law tells that heat can be completely converted to work, but in actual practice it is not possible. This is explained by second law. Okay. Now next is entropy statement. Entropy of the universe always increases in a spontaneous process. For example, if you take the case of melting of ice, what it do is that from a order manner it is going to convert to a less order or disordered phase. So that process is an spontaneous process, or it takes place by its own. So what the entropy of statement says is that the driving force, or why a spontaneous process takes place, is a system in an orderly state tries to come to a state of disorder, and that measurement only we call it as entropy. Then example, it is natural to be disorder, is it? Say Danish, do you like to keep your room always perfect? That will never happen. Okay. We like to put everything meshly. But here, when you take the case of a molecule, a process, it's not actually the meshy. It is the possibility in which it can lie. That is, when you take the case of molecule, it has some vibrational rotational energy levels. So the molecules can exist in different levels. So as the number of levels increases, the disorderness increases. For example, you are going to toss a coin. When you toss the coin and when it falls down, there are two possibilities. One is it can be a head or another is tail. So we can't predict in which way it will fall. So there are two possible ways. If you take two coins, what happen? There are more possibilities. That is, if the coins you take as A and B, there is a chance of A and B having head on the top and fall. Otherwise, the reverse, tail. Then A's head and B's tail, or A's tail and B's tail. Like that, four possibilities is there. So the disorderness is increasing, or we can't predict. So that probability is only, it is taken as disorder here. So second law tells us that spontaneous process happens to the direction where there is an increase in disorder. So that is what it is able to explain, the direction of heat flow, whether a process takes place and why a process takes place. Okay. Now we'll see a new term, concept of entropy. So what second law states that the driving force for a spontaneous process is it will take place in a direction where disorder is more. If you measure that disorderness or that randomness, that is what is known as entropy. And it has been called by the term entropy, like a thermodynamic property, internal energy, enthalpy. This is also a thermodynamic property and it is denoted by S. And from where the word has come is, it is from Greek, and what is its meaning is transformation. Then mathematical form, if you put, you can say that entropy is equal to heat transformed during a process divided by the temperature at which it is transformed. For example, if you take the case of melting of ice, what is the amount of heat needed for that process, that is ice converting to liquid, divided by the temperature at which it happens. So we can write it as Q by T. Now again, like an thermodynamic property, the exact value of entropy cannot calculate. So what we normally take is, it is change in entropy. This, if SA is the entropy in the initial state A and SB is the entropy in the final state, then change in entropy can be written as delta S, and it is equal to SB minus SA. For small changes, infinitesimal be small changes, if you take, you can take the integration where A to B within the limit A to B dq by t, or delta S is equal to dq by t, you can write. Then therefore we can write the mathematical form of second law of thermodynamics as delta S is equal to dq by t, or in the more familiar form, t delta S is equal to dq, t ds is equal to dq, we will normally say. Okay, so that is the mathematical form of second law of thermodynamics. What was the first law mathematical form? Heat supplied is equal to change in internal energy plus work done. So what is it? Q is equal to dE plus P dV. So you can also write combination as T delta S is equal to delta E plus P delta V. Okay, I am not going into that. So that is mathematical form of first and second law. Now we'll see some entropy changes. Entropy change in reversible and irreversible process, that we call it as Closures inequality theorem. I am not going into the derivations or in depth. I'll just say what it is and go. Okay, so you just remember in your mind, for a reversible process, the total entropy of the universe remains constant. That is delta S system plus delta S surrounding. What was system? A part of the universe under study. What was surrounding, Kavya? It is the remaining portion of the universe. Okay, very good. So delta S system plus delta surrounding, we can write it as delta S universe. So that will be constant. Then for an irreversible process, delta S universe will be greater than 0, or it will greater than 0 means it is increasing, or both the together combined we can put it as delta S system plus delta S surrounding is either equal or greater than 0. This when you put in the words only, it is Closures inequality theorem. The word inequality has come from the sign greater than. It's not equal to. That is why. So the theorem states that in a reversible process, the entropy of the system and surroundings taken together remains constant, while in an irreversible process the entropy of system and surrounding taken together increases. Just remember this equation in only delta S system plus delta S surrounding is either greater than or equal to 0. When is equal? It is in a reversible process, and in the case of irreversible process it increases. So in nature all the natural processes are irreversible. So what happens? What we can see is that entropy of the universe is increasing. Okay. Now we'll see entropy change accompanying change of phase. What is change of phase? One phase is changed to another. For example, solid is changed to liquid, that is known as fusion. Solid is changed to vapor, that is sublimation. Liquid to vapor, vaporization. And even one crystalline form of solid can be converted to another, that is known as transition. That is, in the case of sulfur and all, sulfur exists in different crystalline forms, monoclinic, rhombic, etc. So it can change from monoclinic to rhombic. Otherwise, when you take the case of certain salts like copper sulfate and all, sometimes there will be water of hydration. So it can change from hydrated form to unhydrated form. That is all we call by the name transition. So the delta change accompanying fusion, that is solid to liquid, we can write it as delta SF is equal to delta HF divided by TF, where F denote fusion. So entropy of fusion is equal to molar heat of fusion divided by the temperature at which fusion takes place, that is fusion temperature or melting point. Then sublimation, entropy of sublimation, delta S is equal to delta HS divided by TS, where delta HS denotes molar heat of sublimation and Ts is sublimation temperature. Then delta Sv is equal to, that is vaporization is equal to delta Hv by Tv, where this is molar heat of vaporization divided by temperature at which it happens, and delta St is equal to molar heat of transition divided by the temperature at which it happens. You just remember the expression, that is amount of the heat absorbed or released divided by temperature at which it happens. So molar heat of vaporization or molar heat of sublimation or molar heat of fusion is the amount of the heat needed for sublimation or fusion or vaporization. So that divided by the temperature at which the transition takes place is what is entropy change for that process. Okay. Now we'll see for entropy change for an ideal gas. I am not going into the derivation and all, we'll just see it and go. So in terms of volume and temperature we can express, and also in terms of pressure and temperature. When we take the case of volume, we already know we use CV, that is molar heat at constant volume. So delta S is equal to CV ln T2 by T1 plus R ln V2 divided by V1, where delta S is change in entropy, CV is heat capacity at constant volume, T1 and T2 are the temperature of the two different state, and V2 and V1 are the volume of different state, and R is universal gas constant. Then in terms of pressure and temperature, delta S is equal to Cp ln T2 divided by T1 plus R ln P1 by P2, where delta S is change in entropy, Cp is molar heat capacity at constant pressure, T1 and T2 are temperature of state 1 and state 2, P1 and P2 are pressure of state 1 and 2, and R is universal gas constant. The same expressions we can say at constant volume, constant pressure and constant temperature. And when you consider the case at constant volume, what happened is volume remains same, that is V2 will be equal to V1. So R ln V2 divided by V2 it will come, and this term will become 0. So what is it is delta S is equal to Cv ln T2 divided by T1. Whereas at constant pressure, the second equation P1 will be equal to P2. So R ln P1 by P2 becomes 0. So you can write is that delta S is equal to Cp ln T2 divided by T1. Then constant temperature and constant volume you can take, constant temperature when you take it, you can take this first expression or second expression. Anyway, T2 will be equal to T1. So Cv ln T2 by T1 or Cp ln T2 by T1 will become 0. So delta S is equal to R ln V2 divided by V1, or delta S is equal to R ln P1 by P2. Why this change V2 by V1 and P1 by P2? Keep in mind this, because volume is inversely proportional to pressure. When volume increases, pressure decreases. So that is why, remember, when you take ln V2 by V1 in pressure terms, it will be P1 by P2. Now entropy of mixing of ideal gas is another important one. Again, I am not going into the details, we will just see the expression alone. So mixing of ideal gas can be explained or can be calculated by a general formula. Delta S mixing is equal to minus sigma Ni R ln Xi. That is, if you take I number of ideal gas and mix together, what will be the change of entropy? You can calculate by adding up one term, that is number Ni R ln Xi. That is, I number is there, so starting from 1 to I, number of moles, that is N1 R ln X1. X1 is mole fraction, plus N2 R ln X2 plus N3 R ln X3 plus then Ni R ln Xi. So that we can denote by sigma. So negative sigma Ni R ln Xi. Or in simple ways we can go for a binary mixture. Shiba, what is binary mixture? Correct. Binary mixture is a mixture consisting of two gases. So when you take the two gases, the number of moles we can denote by N1 and N2, and mole fraction we can denote by X1 and X2. So what is delta S mixing? Pavitra, minus N1 R ln X1 plus N2 R ln X2. Very good. So what is X? X is mole fraction. For first component X1, we can calculate by N1 divided by N1 plus N2. That is entropy of mixing of gases. Okay. So this is only second law. So we have seen why we have proposed the second law, because in nature some processes will not occur even though it will not violate first law of thermodynamics. So to explain that process, second law has been proposed. And what is the thing? Second law tells us the direction of the flow of energy, tells us whether a reaction happens or not, and it also says in which why it happens, that is driving force. Okay, and various statement we have seen. Then the concept of entropy has come. What is entropy, how it can be calculated, then how it can be calculated for various processes, etc. we have seen. Okay, that is enough for today. Thank you.